Hey everybody, welcome to another Games Infuriate Me to No End. This is not actually about Assassin's Creed 4. It's just about something that Assassin's Creed 4 did, and so many games do it that I've actually lost count of how many games do it. And that thing is that at some point during the plot, after you've spent several hours playing through, it will just arbitrarily take all your gear away. Usually they give the context of you got captured. Other times they'll give context of things like you got betrayed or left for dead or whatever. And so now your gear is gone and you start from square one and have to go back and get all your gear back and progress through a very linear segment, usually a stealth segment. And this kind of crap is frankly a cliche at this point. Like I said, I've seen it in more games than I can count. The most recent examples that I have actually experienced through just gameplay are, of course, AC4, but also the reboot of Tomb Raider, because the reboot of Tomb Raider is basically just every modern action-adventure game smashed into one game. And it's gotten to the point where it feels like they're just obligated to throw it in there. And they don't really have any good reason for it. For example, in Assassin's Creed 4, it just happens at the end of a mission, and now you get to go through another mission that is painfully linear and completely uninteresting, where you have no weapons except for the hidden blades, and you're basically just having to duck in and out of cover while a guy shoots at you and throws grenades at you. And that's it. It's not interesting, it's not compelling, and that's the problem with whenever a game does this. It is never interesting, it is never compelling, it is never entertaining. What it is infuriating. To give you an idea, when it happened to me in Assassin's Creed 4, it was about 22 hours into the game. Granted, I had been doing a lot of side stuff. I did all of the Templar hunt missions, which is maybe 6-7 hours of work, I think, where that was all required to get the Templar armor, which I have. I had basically the best swords in the game, the officers' rapiers. I had really good pistols, which I actually got pretty early in the game, but that's beside the point. Pretty much all of the major upgrades for Edward, about half of the upgrades for the ship, the Jackdaw, and it's just frankly irritating when you get about halfway through the plot, which is where this happened, and you're numerous hours in the game. It's like, okay, now you don't have anything, deal with it. So had it not been a situation where I knew that it was going to give me all my stuff back, because it's a cliche, I would have been even angrier, because I spent numerous hours working for all of that gear. And that's the problem. I don't really understand the mentality behind including scenes like this. There are only a couple of instances where I can figure out that they did this. The first of them is that they just want a moment where you cool down from being a badass, because you've just been an unstoppable juggernaut of death for too long, and now they're like, okay, well, now you need to wind down a bit. We need to teach you some humility or whatever. It doesn't work. And to demonstrate in this Assassin's Creed 4 footage, I'm going to be running around and just taking all the enemies out with my bare hands. Because you don't need your gear in this game. It's too easy. And that's like most modern games. They're way too easy, so even trying to throw in a wind down moment, and the secondary motivation that I was going to say being that, well, we don't know how to actually make the game difficult, so we're just going to throw in this thing and maybe that'll work. But that's the thing. It doesn't work. Modern games are not difficult. And particularly in the case of Assassin's Creed, there is literally no reason to remove all of your equipment other than, well, other games do it, we might as well do it too. And that's what I feel like it's come to. It's just an obligation rather than an actually important part of games. And ultimately, it's just infuriating. Because, again, I have lost count of the number of games that do this. And there is no reason for it. Why games insist upon having that moment where you're captured and you have to sneak out, or that moment where you get betrayed and left for dead, and now you have to work from square one and all that, it's just ridiculous. And even worse, it's lazy. I've seen this done in action games, action-adventure games. I've seen it done in just straight-up adventure games, role-playing games where it has no business being, because frankly there are other things you can do to make it challenging or interesting than just throwing in the arbitrary, let's have a linear segment where you don't have your equipment. And why it continues to persist is beyond me. Don't they know by now that this is like sewer levels in that nobody likes it? Literally nobody likes this crap. I have never run into somebody that goes, oh gee, you know that bit about insert game here where it takes all your equipment away and forces you to go back from square one? I love that bit. I never hear that. Instead, I hear them talking about other parts of the game where it makes them feel awesome. And you know what? This thing doesn't actually entertain. It just irritates. It is there to piss off the player and just basically be a developer f*** you moment. That's it. That's all it is. It's the developer extending their middle finger to you. And then there's the separate problem of when games do that thematically at the very beginning of the game. But at least they do it at the beginning of the game. And it's less irritating in that case. Metroid, for example, Symphony of the Night, they give you that tease of power, and then they remove it very, very early in the game, and then you spend the rest of the game working back up to get to that level, and then beyond. Okay, I can deal with that. It's still infuriating, but I can deal with it. Just the arbitrary, let's have a moment where all your gear's gone, and we're only going to do it for maybe an hour at most, for no discernible reason. It's lazy, it's cheap, stop doing it. Thanks for watching.